Hello everybody and welcome back to another Kings of War battle report. I'm Visibly Riley, and today we have Nightstalkers versus the Northern Alliance. This battle was fought at 2300 points and the scenario was Control. First up we have my opponent's list, or a rough approximation of it. It's about 25 points off. I can't remember what items were taken, but otherwise the rest of it's correct. We open with a horde of Frostbang cavalry. Then we have a horde of Ice Elementals, followed by a horde of Snow Trolls with the Chalice of Wrath, 2 regiments of Pack Hunters, a Lord on Frostbang with Blade of Slashing and Snow Fox, 2 regiments of Snow Foxes, a Cavern Dweller, an Ice Queen with the Conjurer's Staff, Surge 8 to replace her Icy Breath and Heal 5 upgrades, and finally a Thane with Talinar's Standard. For allies, we have a horde of Earth Elementals and a Tree Herder. My thoughts on this list are that it really exemplifies how I think that the Northern Alliance is a really good beginner's army. And I'm not trying to say that my opponent here is a beginner or that people that play Northern Alliance is only beginners, but instead that each unit in the Northern Alliance army is independently good. It doesn't need support, it doesn't need no man. So like Snow Trolls or the Frostfang hordes do not need support from another unit to really do their job. Not to say that they don't want support or that they don't, that some things that are like chaff, like the Snow Foxes, aren't there to die, right? But they do their job without another piece influencing that. So, really good list. As for the allies, I think it's really good. The Earth Elemental Horde and the Tree Herder are especially good allies for this army, that being that they're Def 6 and Dash 18, always great to have. And the Tree Herder, some of you might be thinking, well, it doesn't have anything to surge besides the Earth Elemental Horde, right? It's not getting that much value. But the Tree Herder, as the RC has stated, doesn't actually pay for that surge. And if you're looking for where that's stated, unfortunately it's somewhere on Facebook. But you could look for it, or you can continue downvoting all my videos. Either or. Next up, we have my Nightstalkers army, which opens with 2 regiments of Reapers, followed by a regiment of Doppelgangers with the Brew of Haste upgrade. Then we have a horde of Butchers, 2 regiments of Scarecrows, 2 regiments of Soulflayers, 2 Planar Apparitions, 3 Mind Screeches, a Butcher Flesh Ripper with the Trickster's Wand, and a Horror with the Inspiring Talisman, Vicious Melee Infantry Aura upgrade, and Banechant 2 to replace their Lightning Bolt 3. This is pretty much the same list as I ran last time, only I took Bastion off of the Planar Apparition and swapped it for the Brew of Haste. Now, the big thing is that I just don't think Bastion fits my army very well, as in games I'm pretty much just casting it turn 1, and then after that it falls really down the importance totem pole, right? So like generally speaking, I'm casting heal, or sometimes I'm mind fogging, sometimes I'm charging, and then very rarely am I going to cast that Bastion again. So as it's only a turn 1 buff, I went, well, I could probably use those points better elsewhere. For right now, I just put it onto the Doppelgangers to give them speed 6 to keep up with the rest of the army, but you could easily take any 20-point upgrade. There's quite a few that are very good. But anyway, not to say that Bastion is bad, just maybe not the best for this particular army. Otherwise, that's it. Let's get into the scenario. So Control is another pretty simple one. You divide the board into 6 2x2 squares, and at the end of the game, you add up the total unit strength in each square. The player with the highest unit strength wins that area. And then if you're straddling the line between a couple of them is wherever the majority of your footprint is. And then the center one on your opponent's side of the table is worth 2 victory points to just you, and 1 to the opponent. Now that's a little convoluted, so I have a visual aid for it. So here we have the table, and here we see what it looks like for my opponent, where all 5 of these are worth 1, right? And then the center one in the red area, which is my half of the board, is worth 2 for them. And then the inverse is true here. Well, not really the inverse, but the 2 on my opponent's side center is worth 2 for me. So that's about it. So let's talk about the terrain. First off, we have 2 height 9 forests. We are getting ready for the US Masters. I know that all forests are height 9, so we've got 2 there. Then we have 2 height flat graveyards. This one I'm not so sure about, just because height 1 is not mentioned in the rules pack, or at least my opponent couldn't find it. So we just went with the height flat. It seems like a weird thing to have, as the edition was trying to get rid of it, but at the same time, The height, all terrain being at least height 1 is really bad for archers, and maybe they don't need additional nerfs, but that's just me. Moving on, we have 3 height 3 hills right across the, on this L shape here. Then we have 2 height 2 obstacles, right? And then 1 lonely height 7 house, which is of course impassable. So yeah, all impassable is height 7 at masters. It's an interesting number to have. And with that, let's move forward into the armies, starting with the Northern Alliance on their left side. So on the left here, we open with a horde of Earth Elementals and the Tree Herder, so both the allies deploying together. Seems good. Then we have 2 regiments of Pack Hunters deploying in front of both the regiments of Snow Foxes and the Thane with Thalinar standard. The Thane is back here. I know my opponent put their Snow Foxes back behind this forest because they were worried about just getting, lightning bolted off the table, which, yeah, that's fair enough. I probably would lightning bolt them first if I had the chance. Then to the right of that, we have the Cavern Dweller and the Snow Trolls Horde with the Chalice of Wrath upgrade. Actually, if we pause on this for a second, Snow Trolls, I think, are a very interesting unit. They have a bunch of really good rules over Trolls. For example, they've got that Wild Charge, and then they're also Vicious Melee. So a really solid upgrade. But they are on that, 150 by 100 base, so it is a little bit more difficult to use it. And I think also a little difficult for people who have models to get them out there, as there aren't that many that have been, that you would have placed on that unit size to begin with. But here we see my opponent's attempt. Then to the right of that, we have a horde of Frostbane Cav, the Ice Queen in the back there, just hiding out behind him. The Lord on Frostfang hanging out. Obviously doesn't have a mount yet because my opponent has not finished painting the model just yet. And then we have the Ice Elemental Horde. So a nice tight deployment, although this sort of shows off how you can segment out your units when you're playing Northern Alliance, because they don't need that much support from other units. I mean, they do have Surge, but what they're surging is probably one of the best Surge targets in the game, so maybe not. Anyway, let's go into the Nightstalkers. So starting over here, this Mind Screech is not actually here, it's where this proxy base is. So we have 3 Mind Screeches deployed in their little attack formation. Then behind this forest, I have both my planar apparitions hiding from bows, I guess. And then I have 1 regiment of Reapers hanging out in the woods here. The Butcher Flesh Ripper with the Trickster's Wand behind them. Then to the left of that, we have the Horde of Butchers. We have the Horror with Banechant and Vicious and all that nonsense hanging out right by all my regular infantry, which involves a Doppelganger regiment. I forgot to write that they had the Brew of Haste, but they do. And then the Reaper regiment over here. And then off to the left of that, we have the 1st Regiment of Soul Flayers and both the regiments of Scarecrows. Not pictured here is the other regiment of Soul Flayers, because I forgot to take a picture of them, but they're on the far left side of my, if you're looking from my side of the table. And they're just opposite of the Earth Elementals and the Tree Herder, so they're going to mess with that a little bit. And you'll probably see them coming up in the next few turns, but speaking of that, let's get on to turn 1. So turn 1 ends up going to the Nightstalkers, and we advance, as you can see. Starting on the right, we have the Scarecrows. I'm going to call them zombies a lot, I think. But these Scarecrows are just hiding behind a hill. I'm using them a lot like I use my zombies, which is they just hide behind terrain. So you wait until the last turn of the game, and then you go grab whatever 6 you can be on. In this case, I'm going to aim for these 2 with them because they're also not very fast at only speed 4. Yep, and then I put the Soul Flayers up on the hill. They're just barely within 18 of these Ice Elementals. The point is to just Wind Blast them back a little bit. And then I run both the units, the Reapers and my Doppelgangers here, up behind this wall. And I'm aware that Frostfang have Strider, right? But I was trying to mess around with the Elementals a little bit, and yet still I pushed too far here because I measured if the Frostfangs could charge my butchers, so they're just at a charge range there, but then for whatever reason I kind of forgot about it over here. I think they're not in range of the Reapers, but they are barely within range of the Doppelgangers, and they're in line of sight, and I didn't need to do that, so small mistake there. And then when I realized it, right before my opponent's turn, I didn't ask for a takeback or anything like that, because I was like, oh yeah, well they only have 24 attacks, forgetting they actually have 30, so just a small misdeploy there. Then, speaking of the butchers, yeah, they're just slightly out of charge ranges, just threatening the center, with my horror making sure to inspire most of my units here. I pushed the Flesh Ripper here, not very far, and I feel this is another mistake where I should have pushed the Flesh Ripper over here to back up these smaller units, because 1, I can see over it, 2, I'm likely to be able to mess with the Ice Queen over here with the Trickster's Wand if I want to, and 3, I'm probably going to need a bit more combat support in this area than I am in this, due to the high amount of Lightning Bolt I have. But yeah, it's again a mistake where I was looking at my opponent's list and I was like, oh, well, I want to support my core, forgetting that they're not fast enough to really threaten me with their center right here. So, you know, another mistake. I moved the planar apparitions into the forest, making them -2 to shoot at, so good luck with that. And of course, they have regen 4+. And then here is my formation for the 3 Mind Screeches. So we have red leader in the lead, blue leader, and gold leader in the back here. So red leader pushes 50% into the forest, but leaving its leader point outside the forest, so when it shoots out, it's not granting cover to other units. And then these guys just fall into line behind it, obscuring 50% of their frontage and then shooting out. These two will probably still have, or at least the gold leader back here, will have to shoot through cover just because of where this hill is, but it's an interesting idea to make it so you always have cover. So I don't know. It's, like I said, it's interesting, not particularly great. Then off here on the left, again, not pictured, are the Soul Flares, just messing around with these units for a bit. So we get into shooting. First off, we have the Soul Flares that have not been pictured yet on the left, taking center frame, shooting Wind Blast into the Earth Elementals, and they hit with all 5, so these Earth Elementals are going to go 5 inches backwards. That's pretty good, because they're only speed 5, so it's basically costing them a turn. Then we have these guys firing their Wind Blast off and only getting 1. I would have preferred to have it reversed, just because making it so these guys couldn't shoot this turn unless they were surged would have been better, obviously. But, you know, you take what you get. Then in the center we have, I believe this is showing off the planar apparition firing off Mind Fog. So I fire the Mind Fog here into the Ice Queen, and I get it. And then I fire I believe this is showing off the Mind Fog and Lightning Bolts. Yeah, and I fire them into these 2 units of Pack Hunters. So the Lightning Bolt goes here. I do 5 or 6 wounds, I think. And then I get the Mind Fog off. But it's unlikely to do anything. Needs Boxcar. And yeah, that's just showing the Mind Fog again. And here we go at the end of the turn. So yeah, I do end up getting the damage onto this unit. Like I said, 5 or 6 wounds, but none of my Mind Fogs or Lightning Bolts actually produce any nerve checks, or they do, but no successful nerve checks. So that's fine though. I'm not expecting too much from turn 1, and honestly it's a little more helpful this way to me while I'm training for an event, to not get any super spiky nonsense, at least this early in the game. Spikes are great, but they don't prepare you for reality. So onward, we have, actually I shouldn't say that, let me push back. So spikes do show you reality. It's just as likely that you'll get any of these things, right? But what I need to see is how my army performs under pressure. I don't need to know how it wins when it's already winning. That's what I really mean. So here we go with turn 1 of the Northern Alliance. First off, we have the left flank. So the Earth Elementals here turning towards the Soul Flares. Soul Flare is not really worried about it. Earth Elementals are only speed 5. The Tree Herder is likely going to be moving farther and farther away, so it's unlikely to get that surge going, and I can just, you know, fly over them if I want. The only thing I have to worry about are the Snow Foxes, so it's a good thing that my opponent hid them, I guess. Then we have the Ice Queen. So I think pictured here is she's about to cast Heal onto those archers, but also notice how close she is to the board edge. And that's because my opponent wanted to keep her more than 31 inches away from my Mind Screeches. I think that 1 can shoot at it, but not 2 or 3. And this is okay and bad. Like, I would love to choose her as a target for Lightning Bolt, but at the same time, if she's just gonna hide on the board edge, I'm okay with that too, right? I'm just zoning her out. Then we have the heal go off, yeah, so gets 2 or 3 successes, but it is the Conjurer Staff, so it gets at least 1 reroll, and knocks them down to 3 wounds, so that's good for them. Then we have the charge. So yeah, these Frostfang get into my doppelgangers, and they're just gonna wreck them. I mean, they've got 30 attacks, they're not slowed down by that wall, and I'm only a 15-17, so yeah, just small mistake by me, but my opponent makes another one, which I'll show you in a second. These archers are just going to take aim at some of my, I think, the Mind Screeches. And yep, they end up doing 1 wound to this front Mind Screech. You can see the 50% cover thing, and then the leader points right there. So out of cover. And yeah, so I've got 1 wound on me. That's not too many. Obviously, it's only 1. And it's a boxcar to waiver. But yeah, stealthy and cover, real hell of a drug. Especially with movement. So it's 6s, half tax on 6s. And then 4s to wound. Yeah. And here's the end of the turn shot. You can see the Mind Screeches are the only things that get shot at. They only suffer the 1. They do not get wavered or anything like that. My opponent fires the Walruses here into my Reapers. What are they? Ice Elementals. Manages 5 wounds, which is pretty good because I do have cover. Now, Icy Breath, just like Lightning Bolt, should probably take Stealthy. Or at least, not stack with cover Stealthy, but should probably take it. And it doesn't, so I mean, it would be 5s either way, but just my 2 cents. Yeah, it ends up doing 5 wounds to me. That's very good. Then here's the problem with the Frostfang. So the Frostfang managed to kill off my doppelgangers, but there's no way that it can fall back where it ends up flush with this Lord. The Lord needed to be at the 1, 2, or 3, right? I would have put them at the 2-inch mark to make it so when the Frostfang fall back, they end up flush. Right now, there's a small amount of space where I can land a flank charge from these Soul Flares, and Soul Flares are no slouches in combat. And, although I will say, I was thinking at this point that the Reapers would be in the way, but I'll show you what I do with that. Pretty obvious. And we get into turn 2. So first off, yes, the Reapers go into the front of the Frostfang. It's one of those things where I'm like, oh, can I? And then, can I do that? And then you move it and you're like, oh, of course I can. So take that hindered charge. I Bane Chant them as well. And then I take the Soul Flares into the side. That's 18 attacks on 3s and 3s. Pretty good. Then all the Mind Screeches move into the woods this time, all of them keeping their leader point out. I believe this one is not 50% in the woods, although it might be. I'm not exactly sure. I think I was trying to get it that way, but maybe I didn't succeed. I'm just keeping them out of charge range of the Tree Herder or anything like that. And then we have the shooting, so fire off all of my lightning bolts into these pack hunters. I get them up to 10 wounds now, so dealt 7 to them. But with this Thane in the back, I believe they're a 14-16, so it's a 6 twice to kill them. It's not that hard to get, but I'm probably just going for a waiver right now. And this one's just showing off my heal, I believe. I know I cast heal onto the Reapers. I removed all their damage. I feel really good about that. And then the Bane Chant I already showed you. This is a bit of a traffic jam, though. I put the Reapers in the forest because I needed something to be central. But in hindsight, I think that maybe my movement isn't good enough to do anything like that just yet. I don't have an intrinsic feel for the army and the units, so maybe I should avoid the forest just for now and put something like the butchers in there because I don't really care if they're 18 attacks on forest to begin with, so I don't really super care if they're hindered, and it would make it so the Reapers can get into the fight. Right now I'm bogging them down with my butchers, so I would prefer them replaced. Speaking of the butchers, I do make sure that they are 13 inches, well, that was a great line. They are 13 inches away exactly from these trolls or this line, and that's because I want to make it so the trolls can charge me, as they do have wild charge 1, so they've got a 13, but then the Cavern Dweller does not have wild charge, so it can only go 12. So I'm just making sure that I'm only going to take 1 unit at a time, because I can probably take 1, but definitely cannot take 2. So that's the plan there. Then we have this combat, yeah, just showing off I think the Bane chant right now. And here's the end of the round. So first off, on the left, these guys just come around the side. They're hiding behind this hill from the snow boxes. They are more than 16 inches away, just to make sure. They could get a lucky surge, I think. I'm exactly 13 inches. So could get a lucky surge, but that would mean the tree herder turns around, and I'm all for that. If you want to make sure that all 4 pluses get these earth elementals in the front of my soul flares, go nuts. But otherwise, I can just go wherever I want with them. Then I do manage to kill off these archers, so that's pretty good. That means I nailed the 6 twice. And then I managed to kill off the Frostfang, and that's huge because it really opens up this side of the board for the Nightstalkers a fair bit. I do manage to back up with the Reapers a little bit after this combat, and then I turn with the Soul Flayers to face the combat. That's because the distance between the Soul Flayers edge here and this house is less than the frontage of those Ice Elementals, so they have no possible charge, making it so at best the Frost Lord can charge into my Reapers, and that's it. Not the best bet, but the Reapers probably can tank a Frost Lord, and then 25 attacks on 3s with Crush 1 native, and I do have Bane Chant. I can probably clean up that Frost Lord after. You can see the heal now. I managed to heal all the wounds up, except for this one here. So I healed all the wounds off the Reapers. I healed all the wounds off of these guys. The Planar Apparitions just going into overtime. They are just a great unit to begin with, and yeah, not much else to say. And with that, we will go into turn 2 for the Northern Alliance. I'm not sure what this is showing off, just my models following up their bases. And over here we have the Ice Elementals again taking aim to shoot into my Soul Flayers. They managed 7 wounds this time, so that's even better. Oh, I guess, yeah, that's right. The Soul Flayers hadn't been wounded yet. It was just the Reapers. So, yeah, they took the 5 wounds off the Reapers, but spoiler alert, the Planar Apparitions, good unit. So it takes 7 wounds here. And over here, we've got the Archers taking aim onto my Soul Flayers over there, managing 2 wounds. That's actually pretty good, as I believe they moved, and I have cover, and they're stealthy. So that's half shots on 6s, managing 2 wounds. Pretty solid. And with the rest of the combats, it looks a little bit like this. First off, this unit with the 2 wounds does not get wavered. The unit with 6 wounds does get wavered, and that's very unfortunate for me, because I could have just flown. Well, it's unfortunate and not unfortunate, and not unfortunate, because the Ice Witch, I believe, goes for a surge here onto the Ice Elementals, and they just barely miss my Soul Flayers, so that's really good. But if they had also missed this waiver, it just makes it so I can charge into her, because I'm height 4. So I would have loved to kill the Ice Queen right now and then be able to threaten these units from the rear. But, you can't get it all. The Frost Lord goes into the Reapers, thankfully does not get a lucky waiver. And then we have the Snow Trolls here going into my Butchers. I believe they roll pretty well in this combat, but it's not super unlikely. They are an 18 attack, Crush 2 vicious unit, so they deal a lot of damage, but they do not get the lucky kill, thankfully. And again, this is a -18 unit, so it's another layer of defense to not be able to be wavered, and it's a big deal with how much of a traffic jam I've set up over here. The other units, we've got the Cavern Dweller moving forward, not quite as fast as it could, but it is creating a bit of a problem for me. Then we have these Snow Foxes coming up, just right behind the units, protecting the Thane a little bit, and the Tree Herder moving as fast forward as it can, and then these Snow Foxes coming around to threaten the Soul Players. So that's the plan. And with that, we'll go into turn 3. So turn 3, always open with the Mind Screeches. The Mind Screeches here have moved. I have an exact. I have them parallel, right? So I have an exact line right there with red and blue leader. Gold leader backs up out of charge range. The Tree Herder, which is missing from this picture, and that is because I figure out that I'm I think I'm a little over 8 inches away. So all I need to do is get 4 4 Wind Blasts through to make it so the Tree Herder can charge nothing except for these Reapers. Granted, it's a flank charge, but also I have to not kill these these Snow Foxes for that to be possible. So my plan, and where it was before, it can already flank charge me, so there's no reason not to. So I go for the Wind Blast here. I only need a 4. I do get it, and I push him off the hill. But unfortunately, after remeasuring it, it's definitely a little inside of 8 inches, meaning I needed a 5. Still not that unlikely, and still something I probably would have gone for with the Wind Blast here, but I do fail it, unfortunately only pushing him 4. And then I go for the Wind Blast here on the Thane because I want them out of banner range for the Trolls, who I have, yeah, it's showing out the 4 Wind Blast there, not quite enough. And then the 2 Wind Blasts here on the Thane is enough to push it out of range of aiding the Snow Trolls. So that's the plan there. I take the Reapers, so I could have had the Reapers combo charge with the Snow Trolls along with my Butchers, but then I'm like, well, I don't know if the Butchers need that much help. I've got a Flesh Ripper I can throw in as well, and then the Reapers, it would be really big help for me to clear out these Snow Foxes right now and then be able to threaten these units, especially with my plan to push the Tree Herder out of the way. So if I push the Tree Herder out of charge range of anything that isn't Reapers in the front, I'm fine with that because I've, was it Mind Leech anyway? So I can steal the Inspire from there or from the Thane. So I'll be pretty well protected against being one-rounded by the Tree Herder, and then I can just rotate outside of the Cavern Dweller's ability to see me. I originally wanted to charge the Cavern Dweller, but then with the way my units were laid out, it just didn't work. I couldn't clip the edge. It was just barely missing it, and I didn't want to mess around with it too much to to try to prove it one way or the other. So we just pushed back. And over here, yep, showing off the Wind Blast. I do manage to kill off the Foxes pretty easily, and it wasn't that, I mean, I've got 25 attacks, but I'm only hitting on 4s now, wounding on 2s, so I still managed the 10 plus wounds I needed, which is about average, to get that double one, kill them off, and moving forward, yeah, so these trolls plus I'm sorry, not my trolls, the Butchers plus my Flesh Ripper go into the Trolls, get them up to 12 wounds, and I have a planar apparition just within 6 to give them Dread, making it so it's not double ones to get a waiver, and then a 4 to kill. Unfortunately, I roll a 3, so they are alive and well. Very unfortunate, as I've also removed their Inspiring, so it's only one roll of a 3. Yikes, that's not a great place to be, as these Trolls do have Fury, so they will have a charge next turn. And here's the here's the full round. So I do take my Reapers and go into the Frostlord, who is now gone. The Soul Flayers, I believe, stayed still. Maybe they backed up a little bit. In fact, I believe they backed up a little bit. Yeah, so they do that. I've killed them off. I did Bane Chant onto my Reapers, and then my heals ended up going onto, I know I healed the Ogres and the Reapers. So the Reapers are at full health now. Then the Ogres, or the Butchers, took a bit of damage, or a bit of healing off. I think I healed 2 wounds, maybe, because I believe they were at 10 before. And that's about that. I do also take these Soul Flayers into the Snow Foxes, and my original idea was like, oh, I'll just kill the Snow Foxes, overrun, be out of charge of the Earth Elementals, easy peasy. But then I moved it, right, and I'm like, oh no, 150 wide is very, very wide. And unfortunately, it made it so I needed a 5+ to get out of line of sight of these Earth Elementals. Otherwise, I would have been flank or rear charged, and that's just a 1 round. So instead, I have to just turn, as you can see, facing towards them and be within their charge range. It's not the most unlikely thing that I can tank a charge, but then it'll just be another turn before they kill me, as without the Thunderous Charge and versus Earth Elementals, I don't like my odds there. But that's how it goes. And turn 3 looks like it's heating up for the Northern Alliance. So turn 3 Northern Alliance, we open with these archers firing into my Reapers, managing 1 more wound, but not much else. Then we have the Earth Elementals charging headlong into my Soul Flayers. They are already at 2 wounds, so it's pretty likely that they'll 1 round me, because they've got 9 hits on average, and then they wound me on 3s, so they've got 6 wounds on average, putting me at 8, and then 9 because of the Brutal, so they'll only need that 6 to kill. Yikes. But moving forward, we have the earth or the ice elementals turning to shoot at my other soul flayers and getting them up to 11 damage. It's unlikely that they'll need the surge to kill them off, and due to that, I believe my opponent moves their Ice Queen here to just heal the trolls instead. The trolls regen quite a bit of that damage, and then the the Ice Witch heals a fair amount as well. I think they're down to 2 wounds now, so 10 wounds in total removed. That's not that's not great for me. Then we have the Tree Herder going into one of my Mind Screeches because I failed with the Wind Blast a little bit. We've got the Cavern Dweller going into the flank of a Mind Screech. Now, the Cavern Dweller could have charged the front of the Butchers, but my opponent, I believe, wisely decides to just take the fight to my Mind Screeches and then also just send the Thane in, because I believe a Thane has like 3 attacks on 3s with Crush 1. It might even have a Snowfox because I'm missing 25 points. But and these are wounded Butchers. They're probably dead. So, seems fair enough. And with that, let's get into the end results. So first off, we get the Butchers up to 13 wounds, and my opponent's like, I see you rolled a 3. What if I rolled a 3? And promptly does. So a 3 does nothing, as I cannot be wavered. That's really bad for those trolls, but they were healed so many wounds last round that maybe they can tank another one. Then we get the Cavern Dweller. It's just such a swingy unit, like all the giants are. It rolls a 1 for its multiplier, so it's only, I believe, has 7 attacks on the flank. It's 14 attacks on 3s and 2s. Manages 8 wounds on me, and then also rolls a 3. So not even wavering that Mind Screech. But things turn out a little bit better over here, where the Tree Herder charges in. I believe it has 8 attacks, nails 7 of them, and then also gets the 7 for the waver on one of my Mind Screeches. So 2 Mind Screeches will not be shooting next turn, and 1 will be doing nothing but tanking another round of fighting. So I guess it's, it's not all bad. And we move on to turn 4. I did forget to mention that if we go back, the Soul Flayers that are over there that got charged by the Earth Elementals, yeah, they just tanked that. The Earth Elementals flub their rolls, as it's a 4+ unit. Sometimes it happens, and then they flub the nerf check, and that's it. So turn 4, we have a bit of a mess here. I turned the Reapers all the way around, wasted a turn, just staring at the Tree Herder, but I can't take a Tree Herder in the flank, and definitely not in the rear, so I guess it's fine. Then we have this Mind Screech that had taken so few wounds from the big boy here. Charging back in, I do make a mild mistake, maybe. More of an opportunity thing, where I didn't realize that Planar Apparitions have Crushing 1. It's definitely something I've missed, and something that I will attempt to not miss in the future, because it might have been worth it to just go for the flank charge onto this Cavern Dweller with the Planar Apparition, along with the Mind Screech. But in the end, I went for the heal. I heal a couple wounds off the Mind Screech, and that's it. Then we have this Planar Apparition backing up so it can see my Butchers, going for the heal there, and then that'll be about that. We've got the Reapers charging into the Ice Elementals. Yeah, the Soul Flayers got taken out with that nerf check. 11 damage is nothing to fuck with. So they take another hinder charge, because I'm like, well, this wall is my friend. So I only like to take hinder charge with Reapers. It's the only thing to do. It's only sporting. And that'll be, I could go for the Bane Chant and go for the 1 round, but Ice Elementals are very difficult to take down, and the Ice Queen is lurking over here, so they are still inspired, as she's very inspiring to Frozen Ice, whatever it's called, the keyword. And here is the end of turn shot. First off, we have the Soul Flayers going into the Earth Elementals. They do 1 or 2 wounds, so I guess that's not nothing, but it's not enough for a roll. We have Gold Leader. We have Gold Leader here coming around the side, looking for a shot onto. What did this shoot? Probably shot into these guys. Just going for a simple shot. We have this just tanking the Tree Herder again. This going into the Cavern Dweller. Cavern Dweller is Life Leech 3, so any wound I do is, it's not really that big of a deal. But the big thing that happens is, again, in the middle, where I take the Butcher Flesh Reaper charges into the trolls on his own. Then I take my butchers and charge into the Thane. So I readjust again onto the Thane to center, or center as much as I could. I then cast Bane Chant onto them from my horror and hit it as again. I easily push through the Thane, kill it off, and then I overrun into the butchers and these two, or into the trolls, and then my double butcher unit manages to kill them off as well. I could have done there's a bit of an interesting trick you can do where you take a Flesh Ripper or whatever you're going to fight with. You fight the trolls first, then you do the Thane fight with the butchers, because when they overrun, you actually do fight again. So you get 2 sets of nerf checks, but the second one always sticks. So it just gives you a bit of a leeway. So if these were not Fury, and then the Flesh Ripper managed a boxcar or whatever to get a waiver, I wouldn't overrun with the butchers because a waiver is good enough. Or if I managed to kill them, even better. Get, double shots at killing. But it didn't matter, as they had Fury and they had so few wounds, there's no reason to do that. So I do not. I do move my Scarecrows over the hill because now the Ice Elementals are are disordered because I charged them with my Reapers, and I'm getting ready for some cheeky little flank charges with my weird zombie units. I do manage a few wounds. My Reapers they don't flub. They're 4s and 4s to do any damage here, but they don't do super well, only managing, it looks like 5 wounds onto this unit. So boxcars to kill doesn't happen. And with that, we move into turn 4 for the Northern Alliance. So Northern Alliance, first off, these Earth Elementals just clobber the Soul Flayers this time. I believe I was on 6 or 7 wounds at that point, so not that unlikely. Then we have the middle fight. I believe these archers again shot at my Reapers, managing nothing. They should have fired. My opponent actually realized this after they'd rolled nerve on the Reapers, and they're like, wow, you didn't heal the butchers at all. And I'm like, nope, they're at 13 wounds. Should have fired at the butchers, but it would have ended up with the exact same thing, because only one attack hit, and I believe it either didn't wound me, which means if it didn't wound the Reapers, it can't wound the butchers, or the nerve check was so low, like it was like a double 1 or a 3 again, that it made this irrelevant. But I do remember going like, yeah, with the dice you rolled, it doesn't matter anyway, but definitely should shoot at the butchers, not at the Reapers. And with that, we have the Tree Herder again landing. I think it actually landed all hits and all wounds this round. So that Mind Screech just explodes. But then this one goes into the other Mind Screech and doesn't manage to kill it. In fact, doesn't manage to waver it. So now we have butchers in its rear. We have Reapers in the flank. It's just not great. I probably should have adjusted these Reapers because they're out of charge range of the archers over here anyway. I should have adjusted so I could charge into the Tree Herder, but I did not. So instead, we are where we are. And the Ice Elementals. I keep going Earth. The Ice Elementals over here go into my Reapers and unfortunately get a lucky waiver. It's not that lucky, but because they've got 18 attacks on 4s and 3s, but they do manage a waiver onto my Reapers, and that is unfortunate because now all I have is Scarecrows. You do what you do. And with that, we move into turn 5. So turn 5 is a bit of an interesting one again. First off, we've got the Cavern Dweller just gets pummeled. I believe I just send the Reapers into the flank because they're not even hindered, and I have a Bane Chant. So I just take the Ogres, or the Butchers, I'm going to keep calling them Ogres. So I take the Butchers and I just turn them and walk towards the Archers to tank their shots. Both of my planar apparitions go for heals onto the ogres. The butchers. I'm butchering this. And they go for the heal here. I heal 6 up. I believe I might have healed the Mind Screech that was here as well in the end, but I don't exactly remember. So we are where we are. I healed something. I know that the planar apparitions are really nailing these heals. I've healed at least 5 wounds or at least 4 wounds in 2 sets of 7s this game so far. So it's pretty wild. Then we have this fight. Yeah, both the Scarecrows go in along with my Flesh Ripper, because my Flesh Ripper can just barely, I can easily see the Ice Elementals and I can just barely make it. It's a hindered charge, but what it does is make it so again, the Ice Elementals cannot charge into my Reapers, which is good because it makes it so I don't have to heal them this round, because I have too many units that I need that I need healing on right now. It's a great fix. So yeah, they go into the flank, and then this goes into the front. I mean, I could get some damage through, but this is hindered, and this is hindered. So I've got 5 attacks on 4s and 3s, and then I have 30 attacks on 6s and 5s, and then 30 attacks on 5s and 5s. So I'm not expecting too much, and we'll see how it goes in the end. And here's the end of turn shot. So first off, we've got the... Yeah, this is a Mind Screech that just looks like Gold Leader flew off to just get some lightning bolts onto these archers. I'm just barely out of range of being charged by either of these units, and then I'm 50% on the hill, so I can, you know, not give them cover. So shooting there, I'm not sure exactly how many wounds I managed, but I know it's not the best roll. The other Mind Screech, I believe, went for a flank charge on the Tree Herder, maybe? It looks like my base is there, so must be fighting the Tree Herder. Oh no, it fought the big guy, the Cavern Dweller, and then it backed up and ended up exactly parallel to the Tree Herder. It's not actually exactly parallel because, you know, 50 millimeters is 1.96 inches, not 2 inches. So, but it's 1.96. It's 2 inches over the 1.96, so 0.04. So just staring down there, I turn the Reapers towards the Tree Herder. Actually, this Tree Herder's been very deadly this game, so I need to make sure I can get rid of that real quick. Although it does have 0 wounds, so unlikely. And that's about it. I do fail this fight. I do like 1 wound, I think. So I turn off its shooting at least, so it can't shoot at my Reapers to go for a kill, which is another thing I needed to happen. And that's it. So we go into turn 5, Northern Alliance. Turn 5, Northern Alliance. First off, we got the Tree Herder going into my Reapers. They do have 2 wounds on them, I think, right now. So, I mean, if it nails another 8 wounds, it could just kill me. Hopefully that doesn't happen, though. And then we have over here, I believe, just showing off the Earth Elementals begin their advance towards a Mind Screech. It's not going to matter because I can just leave, but, you know, it could, I guess, if I'm lazy. Kill me. And we've got the archers just taking aim on whatever they can. And over here we have the Ice Elementals here. Instead of doing a counter charge, they just take a regular charge into my Flesh Ripper because it is a flank charge. So fair play, go in there. I left a bit too much room with the Reapers because, you know, I wanted to fall back to make this work. And unfortunately, even with a 1-inch fallback, that leaves enough room for this thing to turn around and get that corkscrew. So going in there. Then here is the end of turn shot. Looks like the archers fail this turn. I know they fired into my butchers again, not managing to kill them off. The Tree Herder here goes into my Reapers, managing to get them up to 7 wounds, I think, 7 or 8 wounds, and gets the Waver. So that's very unfortunate, as I need the Reapers to actually do anything to a Tree Herder because nothing else is facing them right now. Well, I guess planar apparitions and this Mind Screeches, but So that's what we've got going there. And here's the big fail. The Ice Elementals go into the flank of my Flesh Ripper. They've got 36 attacks there. They are... Yeah, they're not... Are they hindered? I don't know if they're hindered or not. But either way, they roll terribly. And this Flesh Ripper is free to go. I believe it's not even wavered. It just takes like 8 wounds and then, you know, that's that. So we go into turn 6. And turn 6 for the Nightstalkers. First off, I don't disengage from the Tree Herder here. I don't see a reason to. I move forward with my butchers. I need them to actually take the zone. I run off. In the background, you can see the Butcher Flesh Ripper. Yeah, I just nimble and then run from the Ice Elementals because now I have a flank charge with Reapers and a double rear from the Scarecrows in the back there. So that should be enough. I also have taken my Bane Chant back over there to make sure I've got that going for me. And I believe I'm going to fire my lightning bolts into those archers again because I need to make sure they're gone. And yeah, we fire into the archers. We got the charge here, and here's how the end of turn goes. This, I think that I actually just went the 14, so I didn't fire any lightning bolts. Although it might be 7. No, I definitely ran here, so no lightning bolt there. I go for a bit of a lightning bolt here. I don't manage. If I do manage a wound, it doesn't matter. I don't get a waiver or a kill, obviously. And then I'm going to just heal up the Butchers right here, and then heal up the Reapers with this Planar Apparition. I heal both units, and this is a bit of a flub turn. I believe I flub and only heal the Reapers for 2. I'm not exactly sure what I healed the Butchers for, but it was a decent amount. And then the Reapers plus these Scarecrows pretty easily kill off those Ice Elementals. These Scarecrows overrun, the Reapers overrun into the Scarecrows, and then these ones just turn around to walk towards the table edge. They're actually majority in this 6th anyway, so it's not that huge of a deal, but you know, it is in the end. And this is turn 6, so before we get into the Northern Alliance, this is my thought. So it's a bit like this for the 6s. This actually, it's a bit more like this. So the Earth Elementals can choose to get into this 6th or into this 6th, either or. And then I have this. I have this Mind Screech in this 6th. I have the center 6th for my opponent, which is worth 2 VP to me. I have the Flesh Ripper and the Butchers, so all the Butchers are in there. So that's unit strength 4. Well, my opponent has currently 0. They could get these guys in there, which are only 2, but that they'd have to kill off these Butchers on the charge to negate this guy, and then they would have 1 there. And then this center, it's actually impossible that my opponent ends up controlling it because I have 1, 2, 3 monsters, and then the Reapers there as well. So even if they kill off the Reapers, I will still outnumber them. So that's about it. So I have this quarter right now. I have this, or not quarter, 6th. So I have this 6th, I have this 6th, I have this 6th, and I have this 6th. Well, my opponent has this one and this one, because I believe the majority of this unit's over here. So it is currently 5 to 2. So let's see what the Northern Alliance can do with their turn 6. So Northern Alliance turn 6, we've got the Tree Herder charging into my Reapers. Yep, managing, I'm at 5 wounds, so I only healed 2 last round. Then we have these guys charging into the Butchers. The Butchers, I wish I'd taken a better picture of that wound dial, but they are wounded. So, and Pack Hunters are not, something to mess with in combat, because they still have that Thunderous Charge. I believe they have 12 attacks on 4s. They're a decent combat unit. And here, the Earth Elementals just turn and move in on my Mind Screech. Again, the Mind Screech can just leave, but I guess it's forcing the issue, because it also, I believe my opponent changes this facing in a second here to face more like this, and it's because they can go into this 6th or this 6th, because they're never going to catch me. So yep, there's that, if there's a turn 7. So here's the end of turn shot. First off, in the top center, these guys manage essentially nothing on my Butchers, so that's really good. The Tree Herder manages, I think, 6 wounds again, just blows the Reapers out of the water. So this Tree Herder is just holding everything together. It's the glue. But at the end of turn 6, again, nothing has changed, so it's currently still, this is owned by Nightstalkers, this is owned by Nightstalkers, this is owned by Nightstalkers, and this is owned by Nightstalkers, while only this is owned by the Northern Alliance right now. So it's 5 to 1. And with that, we roll off for a turn 7, and there is a turn 7. So this is not good for me. It's good and bad. Depends on the scoring method of Masters, if there's going to be differentials or greater attrition or whatever. But right now I've already won the game, so if we're going off of basic scoring, I don't want to play a turn 7. But anyway, going into a turn 7. So turn 7 for the Nightstalkers. First off, I countercharge with my Butchers. My Butchers and the Flesh Ripper into these Archers, managing a flank charge with the Flesh Ripper, so should be good enough. I do nothing. It looks like I did nothing about the Tree Herder. In the end, I decided it didn't matter whether it could cast Surge or not. Again, my opponent, this is when I learned that the planar apparitions have Crushing 1, because my opponent's like, I can just turn my rear to you, and I'm like, well, I do have 4 attacks on 3s with Crushing 1. I don't have Pathfinder anymore, but still, that's 12 attacks on 4s, Crush 1, and then 8 attacks on 3s, Crush 1. So, maybe you don't want to do that. So instead it's just flanks, and in the end I decide not to do it because I'm going to go for heals instead. And here is the end of turn 7 shot for the Nightstalkers. I do manage to, I move both the Night Screeches, as you can see. I'm just going to go for some quick lightning bolts and mind fogs onto, I believe we both lightning bolt onto the Ice Queen, trying to get some wounds, or trying to get the points there. I get some wounds on her, but I don't do anything. And then I just rearrange my units. Wait, did I charge with this planar apparition? I guess I did go for a flank charge onto this because I didn't want to get a weird surge nonsense going on. So I just went for 1 heal. Interesting move. But this unit does manage to kill off the archers, so I turn to face. I think... Nah, this is probably the correct move. I was just thinking that maybe I should have just gone for the flesh rippers, but those archers only had like 2 wounds on them. So yeah, I definitely needed both units. And with that, we go into turn 7 for the Northern Alliance. So turn 7 Northern Alliance, the tree herders going for a, what is that, a 3rd unit, 4th unit this game. Just going for another kill. Please don't. And then the Ice Queen. I have 6 wounds on me with this Flesh Ripper. Just going for the 1 hit, 1 wound. You know, it's a 14, so 1 hit, 1 wound, and then a 7 twice, and I'm dead. So that'd be bad. That'd be really bad. And here is the end of turn shot. So first off, we've got the Earth Elementals just staying still. The friggin' Tree Herder does get a 3rd unit, so it manages to kill off my my Butchers, again getting a spectacular roll. And then the Ice Queen, to add insult to injury, does hit and wound the Butcher Flesh Ripper, and I'm like, oh no. But thankfully does not get the 7 needed to kill me, and that is the end of the game. So we divide the game, or the board, up into 6. The Nightstalkers have the top right, the bottom right, the center on my side, the bottom left, while the Northern Alliance have the top left, and then the center top is held by no one because I have 1 point and my opponent has 1 unit strength there. So it ends up being a 4-1 victory for the Nightstalkers, and I feel really good about that. End of game thoughts. I definitely messed up some maneuvers. I want to make sure that I remember the planar reparations ability in combat. I mean, I knew it hit on 3s and I knew it had vortex, but didn't really realize it had that crushing 1. That's really good. So yeah, I get that crushing strength going. Tree herders, they're just so good. Such a good unit. Really solid in most lists. The Earth Elemental is very difficult for me to take down unless I throw my Flesh Rippers or Reapers in there. But again, Northern Alliance just has so much meat to their units that I can't really afford it unless I'm, getting a snowball game. But at the end, I had a good go here. I learned a lot of things, and I hope you guys liked it. Until next time. Bye.